Hey guys, this is LEGO Motions, and today we're doing Kerbal Space Program Career Mode Episode 2. And today we're going to do a flyby of the moon. Here you see the launch stage going up, and doing a crazy little loopy dealy thing. At first I thought I was just gonna have to restart it, but I thought, hey, what the heck, let's try to get this thing into orbit and whatnot. And so I am going to turn it, try to get it facing the right directions, which with the LV-45 engines on the thrust vectoring actually works pretty well compared to those SRBs that are just flailing their power in a direction, having no steering ability, unfortunately. And we actually managed to get it stabilized and our velocity back accelerating in the right direction. Surprisingly well considering the start of the mission, and honestly, I think we're gonna be able to do it. Well, I know whether we can do it or not because I already made this video. And we are climbing more. I believe I set the launch of this mission to like 2 times speed or 1.25 times speed, something like that. So it goes a little bit faster than normal. In the future, I'll probably be just cutting out the launch stages, but I thought it was rather amusing how it spun around and did the crazy flips and managed to get it back up to normal. And you just saw the outside engines shed off, and we are using the singular inside engine now, which is seeming to still give us a good amount of thrust. Now that our apoapsis is nice and high, we're gonna tilt 90 degrees to the side and start increasing into the actual orbit. You might not be able to tell very well, but on the top of our rocket here we have just a simple small fuel tank and a engine from the KW rocketry, I believe. It's designed for, I believe, just small upper launch stages like this one. And we're gonna see whether it can take us to the moon. No, we're not gonna land in this episode, just doing a flyby, but it should be interesting to see nonetheless. 89, 90. Our apoapsis is definitely still rising, but we're getting a nice horizontal velocity now, and hopefully we should be on the orbit. I believe this is the part in the video where I was having troubles trying to get it to focus on the right object and getting the gyroscope to actually show in map mode. I'm not sure why exactly it wasn't working, but I believe later in the episode I'll stop recording and then I'll fix it, and it'll be all fine and dandy. So we're accelerating again to circularize, or at least achieve an orbit. Something or rather. The fuel, not too bad, but not great either. We will probably have to take some fuel out of that upper stage, and we should have enough fuel nonetheless. I did a little bit of the delta V calculations beforehand, and it has more than enough to get to the moon and fly by at a low surface height. So now we are decoupling. We're almost in an orbit, but not quite, so we'll fire up the engine and get above a 70,000 meter periapsis on the other side of the planet. And there we go, steadily increasing. I believe that was 70 right there. Circularizing a bit. And it turns out we were just past the optimal place to launch for a moon encounter. So we're gonna time warp all the way around the planet again and wait until we're in a good position for it. Unfortunately, at this altitude, we can't do a very fast time warp, so it's a little bit slow just going around the planet like this. And here we are, increasing about the right area. Looks about right. So we'll start our burn for the moon. You'll notice I didn't make a maneuver note for this because by this point I've done this so many times. It's really simple. You get curb in about and about, what am I trying to say here? You get the rocket so that it's on the side of Kerbin, facing the moon, so you can see it basically directly, like, above the horizon, I suppose. And you, well, anyway. And we are reaching a high periapsis. Well, overdid it a little bit there, so we'll have to turn back around, head retrograde, just a touch. Hopefully not overdo it, but I believe we do overdo it the first time. And again, with the map mode thing, we couldn't get the gyroscope to open, so we were constantly flipping back and forth between map mode and normal mode, whatever you want to call that, to throttle up just slightly, and that caused us to overdo it several times, and we have to finally get it right the third time. And we are just tilting around, doing a little spinning. Now that would make Jebediah dizzy a little bit, don't you think? Our fuel is about 1/2 depleted, but that's just fine because we really don't need any more fuel for this mission from here, honestly. All we have to do is spend like 50 Delta V to get our Kerbin apoapsis back in under the atmosphere, so we can coast to a nice parachute-aided landing. And here we are, approaching the moon. Slowly but surely. I believe this is where I stopped I stopped the recording and I resumed it to fix that problem with the gyroscope. And now I'm going to fiddle my way around the gyroscope for a minute, apparently, until I finally get it right. And I'm going to adjust that periapsis so it's just in the surface, under the surface of the moon, so we can get the near the moon science for sure. I brought 4 of the goo canisters so we can get the full benefit of high over the moon and near the moon. And of course, high over the moon crew report and near the moon crew report. Unfortunately, those are the only science we have at the moment because we can't land, or at least we didn't try to land. We might have been able to. And there we are, doing the final bits of changes. See that weird loopy orbit? No, fixes it. Actually, and there's that wonderful chatter making its very loud noises again. Yep. It's quite interesting listening to what they're saying sometimes. You can almost make out words out of it sometimes, I think. That mod, it must have something to do with when you enter a sphere of influence of another body, because it seems to send off a lot of radio messages as soon as you're in the sphere of influence of that body. Turn down the frequency of this. Quite loud, it seems like. And here we go. We've got our science from high orbit and cruising down to low orbit. We should be in this inside the surface of the moon. There we go. The gyroscope says surface now. That's 10,000, so we should be good for us a little bit while we can get our science. So we'll get goo canisters. We will collect those. Get an EVA report while we're here. And that should be that for the science. And with 1/2 of the fuel tank left, we could have even landed on the moon. Who knows? Probably best that we didn't try it, because landing on the moon is a considerably larger amount of Delta V than just flying by. Obviously. And we are back out of the surface. That was pretty close from missing it there, seems like. should, any minute now, we should probably start time warping to get out, well, yes, time warping to get back to our encounter with Corinne. I apologize for my voice today, a bit ill. But that should be subsided by the time I record the next episode. Okay. We will adjust our course just a bit so that we'll be under the atmosphere for our return trajectory. There's that music kicking in. Oh, that was the wrong way, evidently. What was past me thinking? There we go, we'll trim down until we get about 40,000, I imagine. And there we go. That should be more than enough. That was actually quite annoying, that chatter noise. Keeps interrupting me. How rude. We are going to time accelerate, not warp. I don't know why I keep calling it time warp. Nevertheless, I will keep accelerating down to atmospheric, and then I'll cancel it because I can only go times 4 speed in the atmosphere. There we go. And we will point retrograde and kill off all of our velocity, also lightening our load by burning off all that extra fuel. And what I was going to do here was take the data from those science goo canisters and put them in the command pod, so we can just gently coast down to the surface. But as it turns out, you'll see in a minute, it doesn't quite work as I wanted there. We are just about burnt the last of our fuel, coming down on that continent that is, I believe, west of the continent that the Kerbal Space Center is located. So, not all too far away from home. Jebediah is. And once we're to about 17, I think. Oh yeah, there's our emergency solid rocket boosters kicking in just because. Like I was saying, once we get to about 17,000 meters, I believe we'll pull those parachutes. And we'll see whether this parachute is able to get me down with this extra load that I wasn't planning to have. As you might see, after the burning effect has subsided, there is only one of the Mark 16 parachutes on board, so our chances of surviving this are not significantly high. They're actually quite worrying, in matter of fact. We are darting through the atmosphere at not interplanetary, but I suppose you could call it inter something. That should suffice for this purpose. Inter something airy speeds. There's a word for it, I'm sure, but who cares? I should care, but I don't. But I do. But I might. And we are drifting down. Sometimes I wonder whether I'm completely sane, but usually I don't question it because I'm completely insane. Jebediah, on the other hand, is completely and utterly insane because he seems to be enjoying watching himself climbing down to what is probably his utter doom. We shall see. We are at 3,000 meters, but probably a lot less than that because of the terrain lies. I actually should have checked the command pod. I believe it'll be 500 meters about now-ish. There we go. So, looks like the surface here is about 700 meters up. 800, like that. And for some reason, I decided to zoom in very far and through the fuel tank. Well, at least now we know what the bottom of the top of those engines look like. Wonderful. And zooming back out, retaining sanity, as I would say. We should be reaching the surface about any time now. And there we go. Oh, explosions up. Willie's. Ooh. Well, that happened. Not quite what I wanted, but at least the sign survived. So yeah, what I'm gonna have to do here is I'm gonna have to go into the tracking station and recover those all. Almost seems a little cheaty, but eh. So here we go. Loading. Always been bugged about how long the loading times are in this game. But I don't have a great computer either, so I can't exactly blame the game. And there we go, 71 science, I believe. Yep, something close to that. But that is not all, because we only got the crew reports and the science that you get automatically from uncovering it. So we'll go into the tracking station, we'll go to debris, and we will recover the debris, and surprisingly enough, I did get all the science back from that debris. It seems that it was not damaged in the shortfall it had from the explosion of the fuel tank. Anyway, now we will go into the the research and development it is called. Loading again. It's a wonderful experience. Ugh. It seems that it's nighttime now. Our mission took quite a long time, it seems, in the matter of things. So we will unlock survivability. Those LV-909 engines, very nice. We can probably do a moon landing in the next episode. And we will get that and that, because SAS and MechJeb and all these other things, they're quite useful. Yes, indeed. In the next episode, hopefully we can get the bigger rockets, bigger fuel tanks, and we can do bigger things. But for the meantime, I will leave the episode there. Bye!